Hey guys, this is National Master Kevin Yang back at it with another video. So today we will be reviewing our games against none other than Kat2007. So let's get to it. This was quite an interesting game. But if we look at the end result, guess what happened? Black timed out. So I timed out again, lost again. Let's figure out why. D4, D5, bishop F4, so this is a London system. Knight F6, E3, this is all standard. What I'm doing is I'm threatening to counter in the center, bringing my knight out, right? Knight F3, Knight C6, and now bishop to B5. And now I'm like, let's put a little bit of pressure, shall we? Queen A5 check. Knight C3, Knight E4. Let's put a little bit on the pin. Bishop takes, B takes, and now queen to D3. Now, this is the moment where, I believe the best move here from White's perspective is probably castles, because after knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, well then, White is going to gain so much from just that one pawn, right? So because of development, White can put the rook out, and let me just show it out. So castles, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, right? And for example, knight e5 could happen. That's for one. So let's say if black tries to defend bishop to b7, well, guess what happens? Queen to h5 could happen. Another one is rook to b1, just simply saying, I'm going to threaten that. I'm going to maybe combine that with queen g4 and queen d7. Maybe rook e1 followed by e4. It's all of these plans that white has exist because black is just not developed, right? So that's one thing. So if white castles, just take, but I won't take twice. I would play the move f6, e6, one of the two moves, just simply say, I'm going to get the bishop out, or I could also play bishop to a6, prevent our friend from castling. Well, no, because after castles, white is going to already be castled, so that's one thing. So, essentially, white plays the move castles here to maintain equality or whatever, but here, white played queen d3, and all of a sudden, I was like, this is maybe my chance. So I played the move bishop to a6. Now, I could have also played the move e6, right? I could have also played the move bishop to f5, saying I'm going to threaten a discovery. But I thought about bishop a6. I thought it was a brilliant move. Turns out, white has a save here. And please, refrain from looking at the engine. But yes, it is this move, bishop to c7. And in the game, I did see this move. But was our friend Kat2007 going to see it as well? And that is the challenge. So bishop to a6 happened, and I basically said, you know what? If Kat finds this, congratulations. But if Kat doesn't, then it's going to be a very, very hard time. So queen d1 happens. Knight takes, pawn takes. Now, another move that white could slip in is the move queen to d2, saying if you ever go back, I'm going to take this. So that's another way to do it. It's just not a very easy move to see. B takes c3, queen takes. Now all of a sudden, the bishop is going through this diagonal. The knight has to come back here because the queen is attacking the rook. So if the queen moves up, the rook is gone. Knight d2, c takes d4, c takes, and now e6. So what am I doing here? Well, I could consider playing the move queen takes d4 for one. What I decided was okay. I said, the only way for white to protect this is bishop to e6, or no, bishop to e3. So the only way white can protect this pawn is bishop to e3, and that seems a little bit passive. So what do? I play e6. I just say, maybe I'm going to develop my bishop here. Bishop to e3, bishop to d6, nothing much. Rook b1, castles. Rook b3, queen a5, just keeping the pressure up, keeping this bishop here. Rook b2, and here I could have easily played the move e5, tried to open up the position a little bit more, because after takes and rook e8 check, that king is going to feel really bad. However, I did not do that for some reason. I don't know. Probably because I was thinking about other things in a simul. Rook ab8. I said, let's trade rooks because your pieces are paralyzed. I have active guys, and I'm all ready. Rook b3. And here this was a mistake because I know why this was a mistake. It's because these pawns, they're better off isolated, right? Like what I mean by that is it's better for me to target them if they're like this. If they are bundled up like this, they're harder to target. So that's the thing. That's one reason why I shouldn't take them. Another reason why is I probably had a slightly better move than trading. Like, for example, what about the move bishop to c4, right? That would have been an interesting move because, first of all, this is pinned, so the knight cannot take the bishop. I would have to assume white's best opportunity here would probably be to give up the exchange. Because if rook to b1, what happens? Well, for starters, rook can take, queen can take, rook can come to b8. That's for one. Number two, maybe we can just push with e5. At worst, we take on a2, so that's another way to do it. But I had so many other moves, and I picked the trading one. I'm not proud of it, but I'm going with it. A takes b3, bishop to b4. I'm just asserting more pressure. f3, and now I should have really played e5, but I played c5 instead. D takes c5, and now bishop takes c5. So I am just putting pressure. Bishop takes, queen takes, knight f1. Now Kat is trying to dig the way out of the burrow. Completely get it. And now I don't know why, but I just started randomly checking. I don't know. I should have just went rook c8. Don't know why I didn't. The rook c8 threatened queen takes c2. I don't know. Sometimes my mind is weird. I said I wanted to trade, but this simply gives my opponent room to say, I'm going to come out. 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 I just made a series of really bad decisions. Rook c8, knight e3, bishop b7. I'm pretty sure all this, if I remember correctly, was because I was in very heavy time pressure. So I had like 10 seconds on the clock for 5 seconds, and I just had to blitz through these. Rook a1, a6, rook a5. See, at this point, d4 just simply weakens my structure because knight c4, knight d6 is happening. All I had to do was king here, king here, king here, trade rooks, and maintain my pawn structure. That's all I had to do. d4, knight c4. Now I'm letting our friend in, right? And rook takes d5 was horrible judgment, but that was because I had 2 seconds left. So after take, king can take d4, or whatever happens. Here I missed en passant because you know what? I only have 2 seconds-ish. King takes, pawn, and at this point I ran out of time. So what happened here? If I remember correctly, I burned too much time on some other games. But I have to say, part of being in a simul is that there's difficulty in each game. Right? So in this game, what Kat should have done is castle kingside. Just ignore the pawn, because even if I take the pawn, white has knight e5, white has rook b1. There's plenty of opportunities in there. But after queen d3, bishop to a6, remember the cheeky move bishop to c7. Bishop to f5 is another move. Now the computer suggests g5, and after g5, knight takes g5, and then what? Bishop to a6, because here's the thing. Bishop c7 doesn't work because queen takes, knight takes free knight. So essentially this takes it as a hook, and if you do bishop takes g5, then I just play bishop to a6, queen to d1, and rook to g8. So there are plenty of opportunities here on the g file, but g5 is not a very human move. That's all I can say. I've never thought of it as very human. Bishop to a6, queen to d1, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes. So now I have the initiative. I just want to develop. Maybe taking on d4 was fine. I like it. But I decided to develop, right? So at this point, I'm all comfortable. At some point, I should have played e5, went for the open file, but I didn't. I don't know why. So sometimes my thinking does have bumps as well. Rook b8, rook b3, and this was not a good decision. I could have played bishop to c4. I could have played e5. I just had to open the position, right? It just wasn't right for me to trade down here. I had the initiative. I shouldn't be giving up my pieces, but I am. I don't know why. It's not working. So at this point, knight f1, queen b4 was not the way. Just go rook to c8. I don't know. My mind is weird sometimes. Queen to b4, and this was probably the worst decision I made in the game ever. Queen takes queen. Activation, activation, activation. I just helped our friend Kat. And I suffered because of that. I suffered because of time pressure. I suffered because of positional misjudgment. I don't know. But time has to do with it. And of course, I flagged in the end. So let's get on to the next game, shall we? So in the next game, I set up very differently. In the next game, it is like d4, knight f6, d5. And at this point, I'm sort of like, this is not right? If I play e6, you play c4, I play c6. And if you play d6, I should have won the pawn here. I knew knight e4 was the move, but I wanted to try something different, right? Because after knight e4, bishop to f4, then what happens? Queen to b6, f2's coming, b2's coming. So d6 is logically giving up that pawn, but I gave it more life, and I gave some life to the freaky looking d6 pawn. And I'll share this with you in the next video, so stay tuned, and I'll see you then. Have fun while you do.